What's going on there, folks? Good afternoon, good evening, good morning to some out there. It is the Earthmaster here on this beautiful Saturday, May 21st, date 2022, about 10:35 a.m. California time. Latest quake shows some movement out here on the big island of Hawaii. A 2.5 earthquake striking things out there in the Pacific. Notice up top here, north of the Greenland area, seen a swarm of activity, including a 5.8 earthquake striking overnight. We have seen quite a few aftershocks, including a foreshock as well, near the Svalbard area on the, well, this is going to be the North American and the Eurasian plate. Kind of looks like it's on the North American side here. Give you guys a little overview of the plate dynamics way up here in this region. I know it's kind of, you can't really see it here on this map, but it does go up, and you come into the Eurasian plate, kind of a spreading center. It is a plate boundary, especially further down south where there's quite a few volcanoes. In specifics, a specific name of this is a divergent boundary, where two plates are moving apart from each other. And that's kind of what's happening up here in this area of the North American and the Eurasian plate. Got this area down south here, Greenland to the in this case to the southwest. Not too often do we see a whole bunch of earthquake activity up here in this region of the world, but let's check back over the last week or so and see if there's been any further movement, which there hasn't been, including the 30 days map. I don't think we've seen too much activity. North of Iceland area, yes, but it's been quite a while since we've seen any movement here in this area north of the Queen Victoria Sea region, again on the North American side of this plate boundary, divergent plate boundary. So a little activity kicking up there. It has been relatively quiet throughout the globe for the most part, I'd say over the last 36 hours, following that rather large earthquake here south of New Zealand a couple days ago. 6.9 originally came in as a 7.3, but yeah, of course it got downgraded. Since then, no aftershock activity, hardly any movement up here along the Kermadec and the Fiji Islands area. We did see some movement around the Indonesia area and a little bit around Solomon Islands, but overall that activity looks like the majority of it is from last night. Right now we got the big island out here showing the most recent activity right around the Kilauea volcano as well, a 2.5 right at the crater, the last earthquake there on the map, about 15 kilometers deep. That's some deep movement going on below the crater area, so we possibly could see, I notice we have seen a little bit of movement off to the east and scattered about this area as well over the last week. Some of it deep. Could be seen a little bit major influx and increase in activity there at the Kilauea volcano in the coming days with this movement. I want to show you guys, we'll check out real quick the HVO map here real quick, see if I can bring this up. And see what these guys are reporting. I know there's nothing new. It's still in its phase that it has been here for the past few months. Looks like the latest update here was put out yesterday. Looks like some eruption of Kilauea volcano continued over the past 24 hours. All recent lava activity has been confined to the crater. So this has been ongoing for quite a while. Same update, same type of scenario there at the Kilauea volcano. Looks like no unusual activity at the East Rift Zone. So just kind of watching it. I still think, though, when we see some deep earthquakes out there around the Big Island and specifically right underneath the Kilauea volcano, something to take note of for sure. But let me see if this has been reviewed. Automatic status, so it has not been reviewed yet. As far as the depth goes, this could be adjusted once someone looks it over. So we'll come back and check that out a little bit later. The rest of the Pacific, look at this, pretty quiet throughout the Pacific Ring of Fire for the most part in general. Look at that. Only these two little earthquakes down here around the Vanuatu area and Solomon Islands. The rest of the Pacific, pretty quiet. West Coast movement. A little bit of activity kicking up here. But man, even Southern California, look at the Pacific side here. Very quiet. On the other side of the plate boundary here, North American plate, we're seeing a little activity kick up just to the east of the San Andreas Fault Zone near the San Bernardino Mountains. Seeing a couple small earthquakes out there. Nothing significant going on today, folks, at all in the Southern California region. Ridgecrest filling in a little bit overnight with a bunch of microquakes. And eastern Sierra Nevada, just a couple spotty earthquakes throughout the Sierra and into western Nevada. Not a whole lot of movement throughout the San Andreas Fault Zone here, the creeping section. Bay Area looks quiet as well. Northern California, aside from a couple small earthquakes overnight. Off the coast here, had a 2.6, and then we had a pretty deep earthquake here in the mountains here, 35 kilometers below the mountains, I should say, for 2.6 into the Cascadia subduction zone. Now, I know the Cascadia sits over here, but you got to remember the subduction underneath the North American plate. 35 kilometers is way down there, and that's kind of what we've seen there for that one little earthquake overnight. Little activity throughout Mount Hood, Mount St. Helens, and the Mount Rainier area. Just a couple small earthquakes being reported. Filling in a little bit over here in Idaho, and specifically over around the Smiths Ferry, Idaho area, 2.0, and looks like they had a 2.8 as well. So a little bit west of this region that we've been watching for a little while in the Sawtooth Fault system there of Idaho. Right now, those guys showing a couple small microquakes, some 2s and 1s on that specific fault. Yellowstone National Park, not anything showing up here on the map. Let's go ahead and check out the Yellowstone overview and see what's going on there. There is the 5.8 signature that struck there north of Greenland overnight. Did kick up some waves as well. It looks like those look kind of a little drawn out for a 5.8. That's kind of crazy looking. It did create a little bit of swarming following that 5.8 here at the Yellowstone National Park area. Just a little bit, a couple small microquakes, but that showed up pretty nicely across the region, including the eastern section of the park as well. And let's see, there looks like there was a secondary earthquake. I'm not for sure what was the largest aftershock sequence up there. I'll go up here north of Greenland and check. Looks like we had a 5.8 and a 5.1 here. That's probably what we're seeing there on the Yellowstone map, the 5.1. So that's kind of a, well, you know, it's pretty busy up there, looking pretty active. But far as Yellowstone activity, aside from those couple microquakes throughout the park, even some down here in the southern end of the park, very small microquakes. Aside from that, no major changes there at Yellowstone National Park for now. Looking back at the map here, rest of the Atlantic, little movement up here in the North Atlantic Ocean area, 4.4 in the Ridge region. South Sandwich Islands down here in the south, pretty quiet. Rest of the Atlantic looks pretty clear and calm for now. Got some activity in the South America region. This, most of it from yesterday. We did see a 4.3 earlier this morning. That was way up here in the Columbia region at 136 kilometers into the trench, or into the subduction zone here. Puerto Rico got a little bit of swarming here directly off the Puerto Rico trench. This area right here is a major player in possibly producing some large earthquakes. Looks like a 4.7 and a 4.8 with a 3.9 in there as well. Pretty shallow earthquake movement, but again, right on the Puerto Rico trench. So got to watch that out. Got to watch that area pretty closely over the coming days. Let's see what we got for the rest of the states. I know we're bouncing around. This earthquake here last night, a little 1.9 in the South Carolina region. Oklahoma got a little activity kicking up here. I gotta take a drink of water. My voice is just crackling like crazy. Not for sure what's going on. Something in the air, let me tell you. Outside of Enid, 3.1 and a couple smaller quakes, it looks like. out there in the, well, in this case, looks like the Ringwood oil fields. Definitely quite a bit of activity being produced out there. Looks like some older ones and some newer ones mixed in. A couple houses out there as well, but very close to the vicinity of these oil rigs, or oil fields, I should say. All right, backing out of here. Let's see what else we got. Aside from the west coast and movement up north of Greenland, things just kind of at a standstill currently. We'll see what happens though following that movement up here. Got to remember we got these two plates separating there, creating that plate boundary. And looking at, I want to check out the, let's see here, what did I do with it? Wanted to look at the general plate movement here once again in this area. And bring it up here. Here we go. So up here, if we're getting that movement, it's kind of hard to say, folks. It's definitely a well north of even this map. I'm sure there's another feature map here, but kind of definitely hard to say exactly where this movement's going to be heading towards when we see that type of activity on a seafloor divergent boundary. But we'll definitely keep an eye on it for sure throughout the day today. It's just a lot of activity kicking up here in that region. Let's see what else we got. Had some movement on a trail. You can see that train of earthquakes here throughout the China region up through Afghanistan. And some activity outside of Morocco once again. Seeing a couple aftershocks following the recent earthquake activity over there. EMSC model does show it a little bit better for that region. And there's definitely more than just the 4.0. Having actually a pretty good swarm of activity in this region. Quite a few 2s and 3s in there. Let's go ahead and check out a couple volcano maps here real quick. Mount St. Helens, by the way, this is yesterday's tremor. Again, kind of spread out across the region there from north to south. And let's see what we got for Mount St. Helens volcanic activity. See if anything's being reported here. I'm gonna have to give me some cough drops or something before I do a update. Look at those S waves there from that 5.8 north of Greenland. That's pretty impressive there. Look at that. So since then, well, this is just this morning, and overnight there looks like quite a bit of swarming activity kicking up there at Mount St. Helens. Definitely kicking up. And I know the USGS not showing anything here on the map. Let me double check here. I think they had one earthquake to the north of the region here. Looks like a 0.7 by a few miles there into this little canyon, or this lake, cold water lake. But definitely a pretty good swarm of earthquake activity there at Mount St. Helens overnight and this morning again. So we'll watch that pretty closely. Nothing significant. These are not large earthquakes by any means, but still pretty good swarm of activity there at Mount St. Helens area. Go ahead and check out the Mount Rainier area real quick. See what we got reporting. Goodness, kind of feels like the back of my throat is dry. It's a really weird feeling, but I can't, no matter what I do, I can't shake it. And I've tried tried the majority of the suggestions out here that everyone's kind of been commenting on, as far as like home remedies. There's the S waves once again from the 5.8 in the Greenland area, followed up by some earthquake activity here at Mount Rainier as well. Doesn't look as active. Well, I'd say kind of looks as active as Mount St. Helens. Maybe not as strong as these as the other earthquakes are on the other map, the graph, but they're definitely popping up a little bit here at Mount Rainier as well. So we'll watch that pretty closely. Solar weather activity. Check this out real quick on the map. Things kind of stable throughout the night, it looks like, in the morning time frame. The solar flux X-ray solar detection chart here, just showing some crackling with some C flares. Nothing significant overnight. Looks like KP indexes are a little elevated. They did ramp up last night around the 4, then drop down. Looks like we're starting to ramp back up here. But sunspots are as massive as they are, they're not really producing anything significant at the moment. The sunspot right here is Earth facing, 3014, and a couple other ones here as well. So anything they do produce will be Earth directed. That includes any subsequent CMEs. We'll see what they want to do. Right now, looks like only a 5% chance of an X flare, 40% chance of an M flare. We'll definitely watch this in the coming days. So, all right, guys, I'm going to bounce out of here. See if I can't get my throat back to normal. And we'll chat you guys a little bit later on. Have a good day.